Carolyn Doobie here. What's the play for today? Today I'm playing with alcohol inks on my gel press plate, and that wasn't what I started out doing, but because of an oops, I ended up really needing that gel press plate to do this. I'm playing around on the 9x11 Ranger gel press plate, and this gel plate, yep, it's gel press and it has the Ranger name on it. That means it's co-branded, so you can expect the best of both of those companies with this. Now the inks I'm going to be playing with here, these are Kristie Taylor Creations alcohol inks. With careful precision, I am placing each one of these drops of alcohol ink. And I hope you can hear the laugh in my voice because this is not precision. This is just kind of randomly shaking it on there and getting it all around on the plate. One thing that I do have to be aware of is that I tend to go in the same spots on the plate each time. So if I notice an area doesn't seem to have much alcohol ink on it, I'll try and make sure that I drop some over there, shake a little bit here and there so that I get the whole thing covered. The reason why I'm trying to get the entire thing covered in color here is because I want to put 2 cards on this and I'll need all of that space, and a little bit later in the video that'll make sense to you. Next one I'm going to put on here is Zara Silver, and on this one I'm going to really shake it up. It has little metal balls in it, and anytime I have a product where the manufacturer has put those ball bearings in there to help mix things up when you're shaking, I always make sure to give those things a really good shake before I put them on. Now that you've seen how I add each of the colors, now I'm just going to continue doing that until this whole thing fills up. Each time that you put a color on there, it spreads around and bumps into the things that are around it, and everything kind of shifts and changes a little bit. And that's one of those really cool things about alcohol inks. So I'm just going to keep adding little bits here and there, adding more of those drops, alternating between the different colors until it starts to take on a look that I like. Along with random splots of it, I also will place some dots in there specifically, like in the center of some of the other colors. So if I've got blue on there, I might put some purple in it, or if I've got purple, I might put some of the silver in it, that kind of thing, so that you end up having a lot of colors mixing and mingling. But as I alternate between those two things of splattering it randomly and placing it intentionally on top of another part that's there, sometimes I'll get some areas that have a lot of ink on them, kind of like what I've got here in these dark spots. And what I'll do is simply take a paper towel and just let it touch it, and it'll wick up some of the excess ink so that I don't have quite as thick of an area there. So just a little bit of the paper towel touches, and again, it's able to pull that ink up there. So that way you remove some, but nobody really knows that you did it because there's no evidence of it. You just have a little less ink there. Now, once I've got this thing covered the way I like it, what I'm going to do is set it aside and let it dry completely. While it's drying, I want to share with you what alcohol inks look like on plain old regular cardstock. You see how it doesn't spread or move because it's just being absorbed right into that paper. And since we moved, I cannot find the box that has a bunch of those specialty papers in it, and I wanted to play with alcohol inks and not have to wait. So by using a gel press plate, I'm going to get the look of those pretty blooming inks, and I'm going to be able to use regular absorbent paper. But it's going to look like I used one of those fancy specialty papers to do it. I've given the alcohol inks about 5-6 minutes or so to completely dry. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some acrylic paint. And I like to use white for this. Of course, you can use whatever color you like. You can use whichever acrylic paint you've got, whatever you like. And then I'm going to brayer it around so I've got a nice even coat of paint all over that alcohol ink. And you might think, hey, kind of looks like that paint's turning a little bit blue there. Yep, that it is. It did turn a little bit blue in doing this, even though the alcohol ink was completely dry. To take the print, I'm putting 2 white basic cardstock cards here on there. Instead of one big piece of cardstock to take it as a full pull, I'm actually putting the 2 cards on there. So I'm going to get that color and pattern right on that card to make it as quick and easy as possible to get these cards made. And you might notice there's a little bit of blue paint smearing on the back side of these. And I say that lets people know that it was handmade just for them. I'm going to keep rubbing my fingers over the back of these, giving the paint here a little bit of time to grab that alcohol ink before I lift it up. Now there's that moment of anticipation as I start to lift it up and I get a little peek at what's waiting for me in that print. And yeah, this one did not disappoint me. I love all of that metallic in there, that little bit of shimmer and shine. Alcohol inks doing their thing so magically, making all those wonderful spreading bits of color on there. Well, let's see what the second card has in store for us here. As I lifted up, all that anticipation, wondering what that silver metallic's going to do on this card. And I have to say, it did not disappoint. I love those areas of shimmer and shine against the areas that don't have that. Well, now that I've got backgrounds on these, complete backgrounds ready to go, now I need to turn them into cards to send. To do that, I'm going to stencil the word hello on top of this one. And yep, that is one of the gel plates from the Ranger set of 3 that I'm using there as my paint palette. I love to use gel plates for paint palettes. And I'm going to start with the middle of the word. When I stencil words, I like to start in the middle because it helps with placement. That way, I don't have to sweat it and figure out exactly where to position it. If I put about the middle letter in the middle and then work from one side out and then the other, that tends to get my words centered for me on the card without having to do any measuring or heavy thinking. The stencil that I'm using here is called the Feelings and Emotions Alphabet, and it's one that I designed for over at StencilGirl products. To finish off this card, I wanted to put just a little bit of purple around the edge, and I ended up not going with that because, well, I had an oops there. An outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly where I put a little more than I expected. So then I decided to just go with it and start adding more all the way around on all the sides. And I definitely like how that looks a lot more than my thin line would have. Well, thanks for joining me for today's play. And if you've been enjoying this video, I'd so appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you'd like more ideas and ways to use your gel press plate, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as there's a new video out. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.